So grateful to see all of you here this afternoon for Fallen Heroes Day 2018. Very thankful we have good weather today. And I think I'm especially appreciative to the families of our fallen heroes from years past. I really think that you are perhaps the greatest comfort to our new families here today. And it's so important, that show of support, so thank you very much. Before we continue, I'd like to introduce and thank the afternoon's participants seated on stage and with the families of the fallen heroes. Our guest speaker today, Robert Lang, Governor Larry Hogan, Colonel William Palazzi, Superintendent of Maryland State Police, Senator James Brochin, Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamenetz, Mayor Catherine Pugh, of course, Baltimore City, Commissioner Darrell D'Souza, Baltimore Police Department, Chief Terrence Sheridan, Baltimore County Police Department, Assistant Chief Jen Utz, Baltimore County Fire Department, Delegate Christopher Wetz, Matthew and Jeannie Tobia, National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, Sue Nickerson, President of Concerns of Police Survivors, Charles Schwenz, Fallen Heroes Survivor 2001, Chaplain John Long Jr., Anne Arundel County Fire Department, Chief Scott Goldstein, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue, Fire Marshal Brian Garaci, Office of the Maryland State Fire Marshal, Police Chief Hank Stowinski, Prince George's County Police Department, Captain Caleb Browning, LaVale Volunteer Fire Department, Chief Alan Graves, Anne Arundel County Fire Department, and Shipra Steinberg, our interpreter for today. Many thanks to the leaders and friends of the public safety community for being here this afternoon. It is truly a show of love. It is particularly fitting that today's keynote speaker is award-winning broadcast journalist Robert Lang. During his 14 years as a member of the WBAL News Radio 1090 team, Robert has not only reported on Fallen Heroes Day, but has also conducted countless one-on-one interviews with family members, friends, and colleagues who have suffered the loss of a fallen hero. With each story and with each interview, he has demonstrated his compassion and his unique ability to not just report the facts, but to give us all an appreciation of the person behind the tragic headline as well. A 1987 graduate of the University of Delaware, Rob's 32-year career in radio and television news has included work in Wilmington, Delaware, Watertown, New York, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He has been a member of the WBAL News Radio 1090 team since 2004, and during those 14 years has served as a general assignment reporter, legislative and political reporter, weekend anchor, fill-in anchor, and public affairs producer and host. He's done just about everything. His work has been recognized with awards from the Associated Press, the National Headliners, and the Radio Television Digital News Association. Since January of this year, Robert has been co-anchor of WBAL News Now, Afternoon Edition, and the solo anchor of WBAL News Now at noon. He is a Baltimore County native. He lives in Reisterstown with his lovely wife, Julie, and their cat, Jules, too. I don't think I know anyone with a bigger heart. It is my pleasure to welcome my friend, Robert Lang.
Thanks, MB. Good afternoon. So to the Gentlecore family, to the Suter family, to the Cohn family, to the Ramsden family, and the Pryor family, I'm humbled and honored to be with you today. I think I can speak for Governor Hogan, Mayor Pugh, County Executive Kamenetz, Mary Beth, and anyone else speaking today and tell you that no amount of words that can come from this stage is going to take away the pain that you continue to feel. Nothing that I or anyone else here will say today will fill the emptiness that you still have in your lives. If there is one message I want you to take away from today, is that we will always remember you and who you lost, and we will never forget the sacrifice that all of you have made for all of us. We will never forget the service and commitment of Rick and Sean and Sander and Mujahid and Chris. We're just here today to say thank you. As Mary Beth mentioned, I've been a reporter for 32 years, and over the years, I have come to know hundreds, not even thousands, of police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders. I knew some of the people whose names are up on that memorial to my left. They are a very unique and special group of public servants. They go to work every day, trying to keep peace in their community, helping people and seeing people sometimes at their worst possible moments, and they work to make their communities better. And I think sometimes we do take them for granted. So today, in our next few minutes together, I want to share some stories about how special these public servants are. I want to start with a story that I covered more than 20 years ago, and I think about a lot. At the time I was working in Harrisburg. At the time I was a radio reporter, mainly covering the state capitol and Pennsylvania politics, and I was trying to break into television news. At the time, after working all week in radio, I had a part-time job as a weekend reporter for WGAL-TV, which is the NBC, local NBC affiliate up there. Now, it was in that job where one Saturday, it was in the fall, I met an amazing police officer. He was the chief of police in Halifax, Pennsylvania. That's a small town north of Harrisburg. It's up Route 22. It's in the Blue Mountains. The story was that he was going to organize a picnic and barbecue in 400 Park, which, if you know anything about central Pennsylvania, it's a beautiful park along the Susquehanna River. It's about an hour and a half north of here. The guests at this picnic were very special. They were a group of mothers and kids who were living in the local domestic violence shelter. Now, the chief did this at his own expense. He had some of his officers help him out, he got some donations, but mostly this was his event. Now, the goal that day was not just to keep the moms and kids and give them a day of fun and some joy from what had been very difficult lives. That would have been a good enough story, which sometimes, as the reporters here will tell you, are very scarce when you cover news on the weekends. The real reason he organized this picnic was that a few years earlier, his sister had been murdered by her estranged husband. And he wanted to help other women who were like his sister in abusive relationships. He saw it as a way of showing love for his sister, dealing with his own grief, honoring her memory, and helping women and children like his sister and his nieces and nephews. Now, the chief had told me he wanted something good to come out of the tragedy he had suffered. And that afternoon, you could tell from the faces of the women and the smiles from their kids who were playing games and eating hot dogs and fishing. The chief's generosity had a huge impact, and it made a difference. We are surrounded by first responders like that every day, who have that kind of dedication, that kind of commitment to service, and it's all in an effort to make our communities better. The other thing that always amazes me about this group, law enforcement officers, firefighters, including the first responders we honor today, is that commitment to serving the community does not end when the shift ends. Look at some of the names on that memorial over there, and you'll see the names of first responders who at day's end didn't go home and collapse on their couch. They went out and served again. Take somebody a lot of people from Hartford County know, a lot of us knew, Deputy Pat Daly from Hartford County. Not only was he a deputy, but for 37 years he served on the Joppa Magnolia Volunteer Fire Company, responding to calls and helping to run the fire department. And that dedication continues to this day with his sons. And Brian and Tyler, you know your dad would be very proud of you. Another name on that memorial is Sergeant Richard Finley. He was from the Prince George's County Police Department. After his shift, he was a dedicated volunteer with the Beltsville Volunteer Fire Department. Now, these are just two examples. But imagine yourself working 8, 10, 12 hours a day or longer in a job where you put your life on the line. You see people at their worst. Then you leave work and go to volunteer at another job, again, where you put your life on the line. You see people at their worst. And ultimately, though, you want to help keep your neighbors safe. Who among us could do that? I don't think I could. What about the officers who, while at home, get a knock on a door from a neighbor in trouble? We are remembering one of those today, Sergeant Mujahid Ramzadin. He answered that door last February. He responded. It cost him his life. Mrs. Ramzadin, I'm sorry I never met your husband, but from talking to those who knew him, reading everything I could about him, I wish I had the chance to have a cup of coffee or a beer with him or just to chat. But I am convinced if he had another chance to answer that door and leave his house, I'm convinced he would have done the exact same thing. And all of us are grateful for that. So what about the off-duty firefighter and fire marshal just driving home on a Friday night, spots an accident, not knowing the person in the car was an FBI agent? I don't think that would have mattered one way or the other. The off-duty firefighter uses his car to block the scene. And sadly, on that December Friday night, Sandra Cohn and Carlos Wolf were killed. Now again, I'm sorry I never met Sandra or Carlos. But again, from everything I learned about both of them, I'd want to have a beer with them or a cup of coffee or a chat. I'm also convinced that if he had another chance, Sandra would have done the exact same thing, and all of us are grateful for that. Think about it. Who of us has that kind of devotion to helping others, keeping others safe? Who's willing to do it 24/7? Who among us is willing to answer the knock on the door at home, or the late-night phone call, or the text, and go out and help people? Just like Rick Gentlecore and Chris Pryor, who would answer that call for help no matter when, no matter where. Not everybody can do that. And those are the special people we're honoring today. Those are the special people whose names are up on that memorial. And those are the special people who do these jobs every day. One more thing, and I'd like to say this to the Suter family. Baltimore is very grateful for Detective Sean Suter's service. The people in the neighborhoods he patrolled respected him and liked him. They miss him terribly. His colleagues in the Baltimore City Police Department miss him terribly. I talked to him, his barber in Pikesville that I have a standing appointment with every 2 weeks, misses him. The kids he mentored, the fellow soldiers who served with him, they all miss him. And I know that your lives are empty. But I think I can speak for every reporter, every investigator, everyone here today, and we think I can make this promise to you. We're going to find out what happened to Sean. We promise to get you the truth, because you deserve it. I hope that when we find that truth, you're going to begin to get something resembling peace. I can't imagine, after all you've been through, you're ever going to get complete peace. But you deserve the truth, and we're all going to work very hard today to help find it. Ladies and gentlemen, we should be grateful and thankful for the dedication of all of our first responders. So I'll ask you that as you leave today, you will remember Rick and Sean and Sander and Mujahid and Chris. And when you see an officer or firefighter out there doing their job, just give them a friendly wave, say hello, and say thank you. Thank you very much.
Snares of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear, no fear. Under God's wings your refuge, with faithfulness your shield. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand. Unto the angels I've given a command, to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand, and hold you in the palm
Governor Larry Hogan.
It is a privilege to be here on behalf of people of Maryland to honor the life and the sacrifice of Montgomery County Master Firefighter Rescuer Charles Rick Gentlecore, Baltimore City Police Detective Sean Suter, Deputy Chief Fire Marshal Sander Cohen, Prince George's County Police Sergeant Mujahid Ramzadin, LaVale Assistant Fire Chief Christopher Pryor, all of our fallen heroes, all those brave men and women of our police, firefighter, and first responder families who selflessly laid down their lives. Today, we remember each of them as heroes, not because of the way they died, but because of the way they lived. We call them heroes because they chose to answer the call to serve something greater than themselves. We call them heroes because they chose professions that oftentimes garner too little appreciation, but demand so much. Because they're the ones who run towards the danger and put their lives on the line for the rest of us. The ultimate sacrifice of these fallen heroes is a debt which can never truly be repaid. But our state will always be eternally grateful. We will always continue to honor them for their sacrifice, and they will never be forgotten. Today, as we honor our fallen heroes, we also continue to pray for the families and the loved ones who are left behind. Our state has lost too many brave men and women who were sworn to serve and protect. Many here today have had to bear the profound grief and heartache of losing a husband or wife, a son or daughter, a brother or sister, a mother or father, or a loved one. And as we pay our respects to the fallen, we also pray that all of you may find solace knowing that there truly is no greater love than to lay down one's life in service to others. We pray that you find comfort knowing that the legacy of your loved ones will forever live on through the countless lives they touched and through the brave men and women of our proud law enforcement, fire, first responder, our public safety families who continue to bring honor to their profession each and every day through their unwavering commitment to letting their lives and their actions carry on the goodness, the dedication, and the selfless service that marked the lives of our fallen heroes. On behalf of all of the people of an eternally grateful state, today we salute all the heroes we have lost. God bless each and every one of them. God bless their families and all those who love them. And may God continue to bless all who are sworn to protect the citizens of the great state of Maryland. Thank you.
While Fallen Heroes Day honors those men and women who died within the past year, each year we also take a few moments to remember those who died in the line of duty before Fallen Heroes Day was established. Traditionally, we present a past law enforcement family and a past fire service family with a copy of the Governor's proclamation designating the first Friday in May as Fallen Heroes Day in Maryland. Those families symbolically accept the proclamations on behalf of the survivors of all Maryland fallen heroes as a reminder of the risks these men and women face each and every day. Sue Nickerson, President of Concerns of Police Survivors, otherwise known as COPS, Matthew Tobia of the National Fallen Firefighters Association, Governor Hogan, Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamenetz, Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh, Baltimore Police Commissioner Darrell D'Souza, Chief Alan Graves of the Anne Arundel County Fire Department will present the proclamations. The first proclamation will be given in remembrance of all police families. Officer Norman Frederick Buckman served proudly with the Baltimore City Police Department for 4 years. On April the 6th, 1973, he was shot and killed with his own service weapon while struggling with a known local drug dealer. Officer Buckman, who was 24 years old, was assigned to the Northwest District at the time. Fred Buckman was a United States Army veteran of the Vietnam War and a recipient of the Purple Heart. He joined the Baltimore Police Department in 1969, following in the footsteps of his grandfather, who was a Baltimore City police officer assigned to the Old Northern Police Station on Keswick Road in Hamden. Fred went to the same police academy as his grandfather, which happened to be located at the very station. Officer Buckman was dedicated to his job as a police officer, but his commitment went above and beyond his call of duty as a patrolman. He was directly involved in the community, trying to make a difference, particularly in the neighborhood where he grew up. His district commander said Fred didn't just do his job, he cared. Rather than just chastise kids, he tried to work with them, to follow up on their cases. He made it his business to go back and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he genuinely cared when he asked. He was a humble hero. Family members learned only after his death of his generosity. Turns out, he would fill the truck of his police car with Christmas gifts and winter coats for the kids in the neighborhood. According to his sister Jeannie, that generosity was also apparent during the Vietnam War, where her brother served as a combat photographer. Cookies that he would receive from his mom for the holidays would go to the Vietnamese children that he met. Officer Buckman was known by colleagues and family members alike as a warm and kind person who loved serving the public. He was a devoted son, brother, husband, and father. At the time of his death, he was survived by his grandparents, mom, wife, daughter, and 2 siblings. Accepting the proclamation on behalf of all police families is Officer Buckman's daughter, Jennifer Buckman, and sister, Jeannie Baumgart. The next proclamation will be presented in honor of all firefighters killed in the line of duty before Fallen Heroes Day was established. In December of 1976, a house fire took the lives of 2 brave first responders from Anne Arundel County, 21-year-old firefighter Patrick Bauer and 16-year-old volunteer firefighter George Driggers Jr. Firefighter Patrick Bauer began his fire service as a volunteer at the Maryland City Fire Department in Laurel, where he was stationed for 16 months. He was a very active volunteer along with his twin brother Mike and little brother Kevin. Pat loved life and was a bit of a prankster. However, fellow firefighter and friend Joe Ross said it didn't take long to find out that Pat had a very serious and deep side. On Sunday afternoons, he would stop by the station in the late afternoon, and sitting at the table in the small station kitchen, he would converse on all types of subjects, including religion and the possibility of life after death. Pat was then hired by Anne Arundel County and assigned to the Odenton Station, number 28, where he served with distinction for 14 months. Patrick always wanted to help people and saw fire service as a way to make a difference. He was proud to be a career firefighter. He loved his work and he did it well. Pat was well-liked and fun-loving. Most of all, he was hardworking and dedicated. His colleagues thought highly of him and his firefighting abilities and knew he was a guy you could always count on. So, it was no surprise that during the Christmas holiday, when a relief shift needed to be covered at a sister fire station, Patrick took it on. While day work at Odenton was his usual station assignment, that Christmas, he went to work at Brooklyn Fire Station number 31 so that a fellow firefighter could be off to spend time with his family. Firefighter George Driggers Jr., a 10th grader at Brooklyn Park High School, fulfilled a childhood ambition by becoming a volunteer firefighter. According to his father, membership in the fire company was George Jr.'s first love, something he always wanted to do and was determined to accomplish. When he joined the Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company, station number 34, he was well on his way to achieve his dream. George may have had a short life, but he lived it to the fullest. He was a young man of many talents and interests. He was a skilled builder of model airplanes, cars, and ships. He even built miniature wooden houses, a skill he learned from his dad, who was a cabinet maker. He was also an accomplished athlete and played football on the local Optimist Club team. He was a Boy Scout, loved bike riding, hiking, and fishing, and was in the photography club at his high school. And young George had a strong work ethic, holding a number of jobs in his community. But it was the Brooklyn Park Fire Station next door to George's home that had the greatest influence on him. This is where his calling to help others was most realized, a calling that started early. George's sister Teresa recalled how after she was injured in a basketball game, her big brother George, who was only 12 years old at the time, repositioned her dislocated finger and then made a cast to set it, training he had received at the firehouse. Years later, it was with great pride that George became a member of the Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company. He was looking forward to school being closed during the upcoming Christmas New Year's holiday so that he could give his full attention to his fire service with the Ferndale Company. In the early morning hours of December 26, 1976, a fire broke out in a two-story brick end row house in the Brooklyn Park neighborhood of Anne Arundel County. It quickly went to 3 alarms. The family of 4 who lived there narrowly escaped, with one child jumping from a second-story window and the other scaling down a gas and electric line to escape the smoke. It was believed that the fire was caused by a faulty furnace. According to reports, firefighters Bauer and Driggers were manning a hose on the first floor of the burning house when a sudden backdraft flashover happened. Most of the firefighters were able to crawl to safety, but these 2 brave emergency responders became trapped inside when they lost water in their line. The loss of water was later attributed to vandalism to the street hydrant. Both firefighters were severely burned. Firefighters Driggers died at the scene on December 26th, and firefighter Bauer died some 30 hours later the next day. At the time of his death, volunteer firefighter George Driggers Jr. left behind his parents, 2 sisters, and 1 brother. Firefighter Patrick Bauer left behind his parents, 2 brothers, and 3 sisters. It is with much gratitude that today we salute these 2 brave souls. Accepting the proclamation on behalf of all firefighter families is firefighter Driggers' sisters Teresa Bush and Denise Myers, and firefighter Bauer's sister Jacqueline Bauer. Baltimore County Executive Kevin Kamenetz.
Thank you and good afternoon to everyone. Once again, I'm grateful to represent the residents of Baltimore County as we pay tribute to Maryland's fallen heroes, the men and women of our law enforcement, fire, EMS, and correctional agencies who have given their lives in service to their fellow men. Maryland lost 5 of these brave, bright, talented heroes in the past year. Their sacrifice, and the sacrifice of all who died before them, is immense. It's fitting that we take a few hours each spring to reflect upon it and let the loved ones left behind know that their loss is not forgotten and not without reason, that it matters now and always. I want to thank Delaney Valley Memorial Gardens for starting this tradition more than 30 years ago and for bringing us together today. I know my friend and Gilman teacher John Armiger is looking down on us today, noting that once again it is either blazing hot or pouring rain, perhaps reflecting God's alternating mood of fervor or tears. This is my 24th consecutive observance of this solemn event while serving in county government, and my 8th and final opportunity to speak to you as Baltimore County Executive. This milestone has given me pause to think about the challenges that have evolved over the course of these past 8 years, and what this event says about the prospects of meeting them. The fact that this gathering is possible at all is, I believe, a welcome and hopeful sign that we can find common cause as we forge through difficult times. Perhaps more than anything, what has changed over the past 8 years is the depth of divisions in American culture. Differences of opinion are as old as the Republic, but these times do seem unique and uniquely troubling. Sometimes it feels like the words of the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation, describe a place that barely exists anymore. People have retreated to opposite corners when it comes to virtually everything. Even once benign escapes like football have turned into battlegrounds. When those of different mind do engage on social media, a cable news panel, or even across the holiday table, the result too often is shouting, insults, and sarcasm, rather than civil discussion designed to enhance understanding. Nothing is gained. Angry and discouraged, we end up right where we started, in our own corners. In recent years, public safety, unfortunately, has risen to the top of polarizing issues. 8 years ago, no one heard of Freddie Gray or Ferguson, Missouri. The term Blue Lives Matter hadn't been coined. Police officers didn't wear body cameras, and fire service personnel did not worry about being targeted because of their uniforms. Yet, all the time and passion we've spent debating public safety issues is worthwhile. The work you do is critical to the well-being of every resident of this state. And this ceremony reminds us that certain truths are not open to debate. That the work of public safety is necessary and noble. That law enforcement and correctional officers, firefighters, and EMTs deserve our gratitude because they choose lives of service. They accept risks. We call them heroes, but they're flesh and blood, with the same fears and hopes as everyone else. yet they pledge an oath to give all, even for people they don't know. There is no controversy about our gratitude to the men and women whose names are carved into the monument just beyond. In Prince George's County, crowds released balloons into the sky at a community vigil for Sergeant Mujahid Ramzidan, who was off duty when he ran to help a neighbor and was murdered. I joined with thousands to attend the funeral of Baltimore detective Sean Suter. The public outpouring of grief and appreciation for Deputy Marshal Sander Cohen, Master Firefighter Rescuer Charles Gentlecore, and Assistant Chief Christopher Pryor was deep and genuine. Today, we come from different places to this place. And yet, regardless of where we live, or what political philosophy we espouse, or how our experiences color our point of view, we are united in reverence for the courage and selflessness of the men and women who paid the ultimate price. The spirit here is one of unity. Together, we celebrate the better angels of human nature. We're reminded just how dangerous and difficult is the work of our firefighters, police officers, EMS personnel, and correctional officers, what they chose to do. We agree that tribute must be paid, not only to the generosity of the fallen, but to the ideals of public service and the willingness to die for something more important than ourselves. There is sadness today, but the fact that peace can be found here tells us that common ground exists elsewhere too. Therein lies comfort and hope for the future.
Please welcome Baltimore City Mayor Catherine Pugh.
I wanted to take a moment before I started to present this citation from the City of Baltimore in memory of this occasion, because I also want to say thank you for taking time to honor those before this celebration began. To see you all here is to say to you all, thank you for the sacrifice. So I just wanted to leave this with you, Mary. Let me just first give honor and praise to God just for the privilege to stand here this afternoon. It is very hard to think about what these families are going through. And I know, having sat with the Suter family during their trials and tribulations, how painful it was for me as a mayor, but more importantly, to watch their family go through. So to all the families that are here today, our prayers are with you, and our comfort continues to be with you. And I want to say this to all of our first responders and the families that are here. It is difficult for you when you choose and your family members choose this profession, because you don't know that when they go out the door, whether they will come home. But your hearts and prayers go with them, as ours do every day. These heroes gave the ultimate sacrifice. And I wanted to say to Ms. Suter and her family, thank you. Thank you for giving us your husband to be a part of what I consider to be one of the greatest professions of all. Individuals who come forth every single day to protect and serve the citizens of our city and our state. I don't know if you all realize this, but this is the only statewide celebration of its kind in the nation. We come here to celebrate the families. We come here to honor your loved ones because they gave so much for so many. And we know that your hearts are heavy. And there's nothing we can do and nothing that we can say that will replace the pain of the sacrifice that you have given. But what we want you to know is that we honor them because they are our heroes. And they will live forever in our hearts and our spirits. And while you may never see all the accolades that others give every single day, when they think about the sacrifice that you've made, we want you to know that we understand your pain. And while we know that there are those here who are suffering, we know that your suffering is not in vain. For as we have loved those that you've sacrificed for us, God loves them best. So thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of the citizens of Baltimore for your sacrifice, for your love, for your care, and for your devotion. And we thank God for their devotion. God bless you all.
Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Charles Schwenz, who is the father of fallen hero Deputy Sheriff First Class Jason Charles Schwenz, who was killed on February 13, 2001, at the age of 28. He had been serving with the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office for 18 months when he was shot and killed after responding to a noise complaint. Fatally shot at the time was police officer Michael Nickerson of the Centerville Police Department, who was responding to the disturbance with Deputy Sheriff Schwenz. The two officers and a state trooper had responded to the complaint and had been given permission to enter a mobile home by the suspect's mother, who lived across the street. The officers were in a screened porch and identified themselves to the suspect. When the officers opened the door, the suspect opened fire with a shotgun, striking Deputy Schwenz and Officer Nickerson. Deputy Schwenz was the first Anne Arundel County deputy to be killed in the line of duty. When Jason Schwenz was honored at the 2001 ceremony, we learned about his extraordinary life and this extraordinary young man and his commitment to law enforcement. It was a deeply felt and defining goal for him, one he set his sights on as a small child, as I'm sure you'll hear about momentarily. Jason's dad, Charles, has been a dedicated supporter of Fallen Heroes Day and has been a source of support and hope for others who have lost a loved one. As he said, the year that Jason was honored, we knew that there was an audience behind us full of people who understood our loss and were there to support us. As the years go by, we sit in the same audience and offer the new families dealing with the same tragedy our support, understanding, and love. Please welcome Charles Schwenz.
No, I don't have to speak now. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Governor Hogan. Thank you, guest speaker, Mr. Lang. It was great. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you, county exec candidates. Thank you, Mayor Pugh. And special thank you to our survivors. I understand what you're going through. I was there 17 years ago. And this community is truly refreshing. And I'd like to also take a great amount of time to express my thanks to the Arminger family who started this process and who's dedicated this piece of land for this purpose. I also want to give a special thanks to the Mitchell family and thank you for continuing this wonderful ceremony. As I said, 17 years ago, I sat in that front row. On that evening of February 2001, Jason and Patrolman Nickerson from Centerville Town police officers were killed in the line of duty. Jason was a deputy sheriff for Queen Anne's County, and Michael was a patrolman for Centerville. They responded to a noise complaint, as Mary Beth had just said. And as time passed from that moment to the time we had to decide where we were going to lay Jason to rest, we came here. Here he rests with his brothers and sisters from the public safety community. As you can understand, that February evening is as fresh in our minds and memories as if it were yesterday. Unfortunately, we are joined year after year by others who are survivors of fallen heroes. Over the years, I have met many of you, and I have come to share your thoughts and support, your grief, and your ability to move forward. When Jason died, we spent a long, long time in pain and disbelief, looking for answers. Things were complicated by court hearings, legal maneuverings, etc. The following May in 2002, we came to Delaney Valley with the great support of John Arminger. We put Jason to rest here. We came to memorialize Jason for the first time. That was our first encounter, and we experienced a tremendous outpouring of support. An overwhelming number of fire and police and others joined us in remembering our son. The community of public safety has always kept that promise of recognizing, remembering, and honoring the service of fallen. Through the years, we have come to stand and support others who have sadly come to take our place. Each time during this ceremony, it is a reminder of the dedication, devotion that we experience and that you will experience from this community of police and fire and public service. Healing is a journey. It takes a lifetime. And there will be many experiences, both positive and negative, along the way. But today I would like to remind you, as others have, that you're not alone. There are others who have come before you, and unfortunately, there will be others coming after you. But we are all here to help you with your journey. Recently, I had the unique pleasure of reading Vice President Joe Biden's book, Promise Me Dad. If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have read the book. But I have got to tell you, there was one quote that stopped me cold in that book. Joe Biden told a family of two victims in New York City recently that the time will come, and this is a quote, the time will come when his memory will bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eyes. For me, that time has come. I look back, excuse me, I look back at my son and all the memories that I have. And when he was 6 years old, he proclaimed that he wanted to be a police officer. And he stayed the course. He interviewed at a number of different police departments. He wanted to be a police officer. And when he had an interview with Queen Anne's County Sheriff Charles Crosley at the time, he ended the interview by saying, "You may find others better qualified, but you won't find anyone that wants the job more than I do." He got the job. So remember, your journey is a long lifetime journey, but there will be happiness that you will find along the way. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for sharing your experiences, and God bless you. Thank you.
At this point in the ceremony, we honor the fallen heroes whose deaths have been reported as in the line of duty since the previous Fallen Heroes Day. The tragic loss of life of each fallen hero reminds us of the risk the men and women of our public safety community face each day when they put on their uniform and report for work. Master Firefighter Rescuer Charles Rick Gentlecore. On April 7th, 2017, firefighter rescuer Charles Rick Gentlecore of the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue was found unresponsive at his Burtonsville fire station by coworkers. Fellow emergency responders immediately initiated emergency care, but resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful. He was transported to the hospital, and despite the best efforts of paramedics and hospital staff, he succumbed a short time later. Rick Gentlecore, a Bowie native, fulfilled a lifelong dream of becoming a firefighter. He served proudly for 23 years, first as a volunteer for 11 years, and then as a career firefighter rescuer for another 12. In fact, Rick's fire service began and ended at the station that meant so much to him. He began his service with the Burtonsville Volunteer Fire Department Station 15 in 1994 as a volunteer firefighter, where he achieved the rank of Firefighter 3. Rick was later named top responder in 2000, responding to more than 300 calls. Rick would go on to become a full-time career firefighter for the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service with assignments at several stations, but his dedication to the Burtonsville station never wavered. He continued to volunteer there when he was able. Ultimately, he was assigned to Station 15. For Rick, it was like coming home. It was Rick's job to drive and operate the trucks and often the ambulance, all of which he did masterfully. He was known for keeping the department's digs in tip-top shape. He was hardworking and dedicated, and he was fun-loving. Many remember his antics in the annual Burtonsville Bowl football game and his mischievous personality. Co-workers described him as always cheerful and humorous. Not just a great colleague, but a true friend. He was seen as a role model. A colleague said, "All fire service personnel, whether career or volunteer, should aspire to be like Rick." And he was devoted to his family, always beaming with pride as he spoke of his wife and son. Montgomery County Fire Chief Scott Goldstein spoke of Rick's commitment to fire service and his vital contribution to his community. Quote, "There were many calls and many lives that Rick impacted as a responder." Firefighter Gentlecore was posthumously promoted to the rank of Master Firefighter. Charles Rick Gentlecore, who was 52 at the time of his death, is survived by his wife Virginia, son Todd, siblings, and extended family. The Maryland General Assembly offers its most sincere tribute to fallen hero, Master Firefighter Rescuer Charles Rick Gentlecore. Accepting the fallen hero's tribute is his wife Virginia. They are being presented with a bronze replica of the Fallen Heroes Memorial and a copy of a Maryland General Assembly resolution. Detective Sean Matthew Suter of the Baltimore City Police Department died on November 16, 2017, of a gunshot wound sustained the previous day while attempting to interview a person during a homicide investigation in West Baltimore. Detective Suter, who was mortally wounded in the incident, was transported to the hospital where he remained on life support until succumbing to the wound the following day. Detective Suter, age 43, served with distinction with the Baltimore Police Department for 18 years and was assigned to the homicide unit at the time of his death. He was born and raised in Northeast Washington, D.C., and after graduating from McKinley Tech High School, Sean enlisted in the United States Army, where he served his country proudly for 15 years. He then joined the Baltimore Police Department in 1999. Sean served in various capacities in the police department, receiving many awards and commendations for his strong work ethic and caring approach to the job. He was known for his kind spirit and in fact earned the nickname Face for his warm and welcoming smile. He was also known for his immaculate appearance, which was considered an extension of his years in the military. A man of many interests, he enjoyed travel, was a cigar connoisseur, and was a devoted Dallas Cowboys fan. He had a wide circle of friends who described him as fun-loving, supportive, and kind. At Sean's funeral service, colleagues shared stories of his dedication to public service and the direct positive impact he had on the community, his mentoring of young offenders, his unique ability to calm witnesses and family members, his efforts to help families suffering loss, and his ability to build lasting relationships. They spoke, for example, of the time an 80-year-old neighbor dropped off a birthday cake for Detective Suter at the police station. She just wanted to thank him for looking after her. Most importantly, family, friends, and coworkers alike described Sean as a supremely loving and devoted husband and father. Detective Suter is survived by his wife, Nicole, and 5 children: Sean, Zaria, Demira, Marquise, Chris, and extended family. The Maryland General Assembly offers its most sincere tribute to Detective Sean Suter. Accepting the fallen hero's tribute is his wife, Nicole. They are being presented with a bronze replica of the Fallen Heroes Memorial and a copy of a Maryland General Assembly resolution. Deputy Fire Chief Marshal Sander Benjamin Cohen of the Office of the Maryland State Fire Marshal and Rockville Volunteer Fire Department died on December 8, 2017, when he was struck and killed by a vehicle on southbound I-270 in Rockville while assisting and rendering aid at the scene of a crash. Sander, who happened to be driving on the interstate, pulled over when he noticed a single-car crash. He activated his emergency flashers and checked on the well-being of the driver of the vehicle, who turned out to be another public safety officer, an off-duty FBI agent. After determining that there were no injuries, the deputy chief contacted the local barracks of the state police and advised them of the crash and the injury status. Sander and the driver, Agent Carlos Wolf, were standing on the shoulder of the roadway waiting for help to arrive when another vehicle came upon the accident scene. The driver was traveling too fast for conditions and abruptly swerved to avoid the collision. The driver lost control of his vehicle and struck both Deputy Chief Cohen and Agent Wolf, throwing them both over the Jersey wall and into the northbound lanes. Deputy Chief Cohen died at the scene, and Agent Wolf was later pronounced dead at Suburban Hospital. Sander Cohen grew up in Rockville, where he graduated from Winston Churchill High School. He became a member of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department at the age of 19. Volunteer service he continued for 14 years. His commitment to helping those in distress was clear from the beginning. Just a few months into his volunteer fire service, he helped 3 residents of an apartment building escape a fire. A year later, Sander and his colleagues would be awarded the Public Safety Officer Medal of Valor, the highest recognition given to emergency responders. Sander attended the Prince George's County Police Academy, graduating in 2009. He was assigned to the Southern Regional Office, later taking on the special assignment to assist Prince George's County Fire and EMS Fire Investigations Unit. Sander was promoted to Deputy Chief Fire Marshal in January of 2017 and became Regional Commander of the Northeast Regional Office. He was a team leader on numerous response deployments, assisting fire investigation units in Baltimore City as well as Montgomery and Howard counties. In all, he served 9 years with the Maryland State Fire Marshal's Office. Sander was a decorated investigator. Among his awards was a unit citation for his role in a multi-agency investigation of bottle bombing of an explosion at a Largo movie theater in 2014. State Fire Marshal Brian Garacci said, Deputy Chief Cohen was well on his way to becoming a leader and mentor in the agency. Deputy Chief Cohen's honor today is particularly poignant in that he is being recognized as both a police officer and a firefighter. As a law enforcement investigator for the Maryland State Fire Marshal Agency, he literally wore both hats. In fact, Sander Cohen's name will be placed on both the National Firefighters Memorial in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and the National Police Memorial in Washington, D.C. Sander was known for his keen sense of humor, his positive outlook, and overall easygoing personality. He was described as a funny dude who could find humor in difficult situations, thereby putting everyone else at ease. All who knew him spoke of his zest for life, his infectious smile, and his huge heart. He adored his family and friends and dearly loved his dog. At the Deputy Chief's funeral service, Eric Bernard, president of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, said Sander Cohen's actions on that December 8th evening demonstrated the level of selflessness that he gave to the community. When he stopped to render aid, he did it with all his heart, because he wanted to, not because he had to. Deputy Chief Cohen, who was 33 years old at the time of his death, is survived by his parents, grandmother, and extended family. The Maryland General Assembly offers its most sincere tribute to Deputy Chief Fire Marshal Sander B. Cohen. Accepting the fallen hero's tribute are 2 of his best friends, Captain James Jim Seavey and Captain Robert R.J. James III of the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department. They are being presented with a bronze replica of the Fallen Heroes Memorial and a copy of a Maryland General Assembly resolution. Sergeant Mujahid A. Ramzadin. Sergeant Mujahid A. Ramzadin of the Prince George's County Police Department was shot and killed on February 21st, 2018, while attempting to protect a female neighbor who was being attacked in a domestic violence incident. Although Sergeant Ramzadin was off duty, relaxing in his Brandywine home, he didn't hesitate to respond to the plea for help to protect the woman and confront the man who was armed with a shotgun. Mujahid stood his ground to defend the life of his neighbor. The assailant, who had protective orders issued against him and active warrants for second-degree assault, fatally shot Sergeant Ramzadin before stealing his service weapon and fleeing in a vehicle. Responding officers pursued the man approximately 10 miles before he stopped and attempted to flee into a nearby wooded area. The man was shot and killed by pursuing officers. Sergeant Ramzadin was a graduate of Central Texas College with a degree in criminal justice and police science. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran, He served with the Prince George's County Police Department for 14 years. He was assigned to the National Harbor Unit of the department's Special Operations Division. Before his final assignment with the Harbor Unit, he had been assigned to District 3, District 4, the Wave Unit, and Gang Unit. Prior to his service in Prince George's County, he was a police officer for 5 years with the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia, and for 2 years was also a member of the DC Air National Guard. Sergeant Ramsden served with honor and distinction throughout his career. Over the years, there were many examples of his heroism. He was a committed and selfless officer who went beyond the call of duty. In fact, in 2006, he was the recipient of the Prince George's Police Department's Silver Medal of Valor for his heroic actions and courage engaging an armed suspect. Sergeant Ramsden took great pride in his service to the community. Both fellow officers and friends said that the way he lost his life is a true reflection of how he lived. It is no surprise, they said, that he would come to his neighbor's aid on that Wednesday morning. That's just who he was. He was described as the salt of the earth, a gentle and caring person who would walk up and introduce himself and want to get to know you. And that giving and warm nature extended well beyond his shift. Neighbors said to know him was to love him. He was someone who always wanted to help, even when he wasn't in uniform. Mujahid was devoutly religious, which shaped his life as a devoted family member, a steadfast community volunteer, and a dedicated police officer. He even mentored young police officers to be better fathers and better husbands. When Prince George's County Police Chief Hank Strawinski spoke of the sergeant's distinguished service, he said, "Mujahid led a consequential life, and he suffered a consequential death. He saved the victim's life by giving his own." Sergeant Ramsden, who was 51 at the time of his death, was posthumously promoted from the rank of corporal to the rank of sergeant. He is survived by his mother, Carolyn, wife, Tammy, 4 children, Eric, Jonathan, Janae, Khadija, as well as many other family members. The Maryland General Assembly offers its most sincere tribute to Sergeant Mujahid A. Ramsden. Accepting the fallen hero's tribute is his wife, Tammy. She is being presented with a bronze replica of the Fallen Heroes Memorial and a copy of a Maryland General Assembly resolution. Assistant Fire Chief Christopher Charles Pryor of the LaVale Volunteer Fire Department in Allegheny County died suddenly on February 25th, 2018, after returning home from an early morning response to a motor vehicle crash on National Highway. Reporting that he was not feeling well, he collapsed upon arrival at the hospital. Despite all efforts to revive him, Chris Pryor passed away. Assistant Fire Chief Pryor, age 45, was the department's head trustee and a highly respected third-generation volunteer and 16-year veteran of the LaVale Volunteer Fire Department. Chris held numerous offices within the department, including chief, vice president, and lieutenant. He was also a past member and lieutenant of the LaVale Rescue Squad. Fellow volunteers remembered Chris as a dedicated firefighter and role model who was an incredible asset to the fire department. He loved being a firefighter and making a difference in the community. In fact, for the Pryors, this commitment to community is a family affair. with many of Chris's family members serving as active members of the department, including his wife Kim, who currently serves as president. Chris was one of the main drivers and was highly skilled at this job. He was also a trainer and mentor to novice apparatus operators, taking the time to train every new driver so that they would know and have thorough knowledge of all the equipment. Known for his warm smile, kindness, and upbeat spirit, he touched the lives of many. Described as the kind of guy who would give you the shirt off his back, he was a mainstay in the department and in the community. As his chief said, Chris pretty much ran every call, worked every fundraiser. He was a good family man and a good community guy. And his dedication to helping others was unwavering. A 911 dispatcher and friend recalled how Chris would respond without hesitation to an emergency call, no matter the hour, the day, or the incident. And always with this response, "What do we need?" Assistant Chief Pryor is survived by his wife, Kimberly, and 3 children, Christopher J., Tyla, and Matea, parents and extended family. The Maryland General Assembly offers its most sincere tribute to Assistant Chief Christopher Pryor. Accepting the Fallen Heroes tribute is his wife, Kimberly. They are being presented with a bronze replica of the Fallen Heroes Memorial and a copy of a Maryland General Assembly resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you stand now as the wreath is placed at the Fallen Heroes Memorial and remain standing through the end of the ceremony until the honor guards have dismissed. Thank you.
Let us pray. God of mercy, God of love, hold all these brave souls in the palm of your hand. Comfort them and their families. Send angels of protection, love, and comfort to all the men and women who have answered the call to protect their neighbors. Bring them home safely and comfort their families. Let the memories of those we honor today strengthen our resolve to be ever vigilant, healthy, trained, and caring. For we alone can better memorialize their lives by learning from their tragedy. God, thank you for all the people who worked so hard to make sure that this memorial and ceremony would be a memorial event. Amen.
Praise God!